Okay, so this episode of My Unbelievable Life is about Adam Sandler. Now, our wives had paths that were entangled for a very long time. Um, we both lived in southern New Hampshire as teenagers, a few miles apart. Don't think we ever met. You never know. I didn't do like school events and stuff like that, or school for that matter. Then later, as we were late teens, well, I was in my late teens. I was 20 or early 20s. I was working in the clubs in Boston, and where I got to meet all the musicians that I do my other show on stage with Mantis with. Anyways, he was doing the stand-up thing, and I mean, I wasn't in comedy clubs. I was in rock clubs, but the rock clubs I was in was where everyone went, regardless. And then I go to Hollywood, and I get to know the Wayans brothers and stuff. Um, Eventually, by the time he did Airheads, this is the first one I remember. We were sitting, he'd come up, we ran into me on the street, and we were gonna go talk. Um, so we went over to the Magic Castle parking lot, and he starts telling about the new project and how the band's gonna take over this radio station. And I said, "What are your list of demands?" He says, "What list of demands?" And I said, "Well, you got to have a list of demands. It holds the cops off, and you got to make it really stupid and like impossible to get items like something like nude pictures of B. Arthur." And he got that, and he started rolling with it, and we discussed other things, but that was like the main one in there. Now the rest of these other movies I can't put in timeline. I could, but that would mean actually looking at a computer screen and thinking for 2 minutes. But it was Billy Madison, and one of the points that I did add here, this is not the same night. Um, he kept coming to see me, as the at one point he would have to not know the answer, and he would have to say something really stupid, and then the principal would respond that not only that the answer was wrong and it was so stupid that everyone is now dumber for having heard it, amongst other things. Happy Gilmore, I asked him. I mentioned there would have to be an alligator because southeast there are alligators that can be on golf courses, as we now know quite often, and it took him a minute to wrap his head around that, why there would be an alligator, until I said, well, Georgia. And he added that to the extent that it was thread through the entire movie as a sub story. And then there was the last hole, that thing which you have to, I can never remember the name of that, but it's like the game Mousetrap where you have to rearrange everything so that the ball goes in on the thing. That's basically what it was, whatever that's called. And to do that, amongst other things. Waterboy. Waterboy. I was every time he said football, I said foosball is the devil, and he liked that. That got added in. It got a little annoying, like when he reacted to his mom saying it on the show in the movie. I also asked him to do me a favor because at the time Mr. T was going through some health issues, and I said, "Could you just give him like a bit part, a little camera time, give him so he can get some money to help cover some of those bills?" So he put Mr. T in, and let me see. Mr. Deeds, one of the funniest things, because once again, we both were teenagers in New Hampshire. So I said, the name of the town has to have every suffix of every town in New Hampshire that we can think of. All the different ones, not every single one repeated. So we just threaded out, and I mean, he never wrote this stuff down when we were talking. He didn't record it. There were no like cell phone like this. So somehow he managed to remember all this stuff by the time he got home. And then there was the wedding singer, and the big one I added here was Billy Idol on the jet, and then him going down into the cabin to serenade her. And he looked at me, he says, "But why would I be able to do this?" And I said, "Because it's first class, you can do whatever you want." Just little bits here and there. And remember, this was the 90s. I had no desire to really be involved with Hollywood or creativity. Um, but Adam just had this thing. We had this creative connection. Also, on several of those occasions, he did invite me back to his house for a shower, although I never uh, accepted that. I literally had three apartments at 6 or 7 different places to whatever I needed, I had. Let's just put it that way. Um, but at one point in one of these conversations, I suggested he do just for whatever reason, a remake of The Longest Yard. And I said, you can go tell Bert that Psycho asked you to do this because I knew Bert in Boston casually. He was doing a movie. He came to the club. We hit it off. Another story, another time. Not really creatively involved. So there you have the 7 of the, I want to say 10 movies I may or may not have been involved with in Hollywood. Uh, with as a consultant, more just an enhancer, not really as a concept creator, which I also do. Uh, wish Adam would see this. I wish his people would just deliver the letter. But anyways, that's my Adam Sandler story. We'll see what we have for number 3.